Your patience is rewarded.
WUBRG wins the roll and takes the first turn. The Jund deck will be looking to ramp out to big creatures or cheat in beefy creatures, some with ETB effects, using the triggers from cards like Ilharg or Champion of Ronas. If Tyler is able to get enough heroic triggers and enchantments on the field, he's going to absolutely pummel the Jund deck before it can cheat anything out. Tyler casts Battle-Wise Hoplite, which is going to simultaneously help Tyler dig for a better draw, and give him a creature with the potential to become larger than what WUBRG can cheat out. WUBRG casts Klothys, God of Destiny, a good permanent that he hopes will gain life, draw cards, and eventually become a nice-sized creature if he meets the devotion requirements. Tyler casts Ordeal of Heliod, and here we can see the value of Battle-Wise Hoplite. Tyler scries and keeps on top, and puts a counter on Battle-Wise Hoplite from the heroic trigger. Moving to attacks, he adds another counter to Battle-Wise Hoplite from the Ordeal of Heliod trigger. He takes a nice chunk of 4 life out of the Jund deck. WUBRG taps out to cast Champion of Ronas. The Exert ability is really key to this deck. He needs to protect that creature. With no mana, it is vulnerable to any removal. Tyler casts Ordeal of Thassa on the Battle-Wise Hoplite, adding another counter and scrying 1, keeping on top. Tyler casts another Ordeal of Heliod, adding another counter, both players putting a ton of dependency on their single creature. Tyler swings with the Battle-Wise Hoplite to add 3 more counters. Sacrificing all the Ordeal enchantments, Tyler gains 20 life and draws 2 cards, but now there are a few targets in the graveyard for Klothys. Tyler swings with a 9/9, and WUBRG goes down to 8 life. WUBRG exiles the Ordeal of Thassa at the beginning of his pre-combat main phase, gaining 2 life and hitting Tyler for 2 damage. WUBRG moves to attacks and exerts Champion of Ronas. He puts a Worldspine Worm onto the battlefield. Tyler has no blocks and takes the 3 Champion of Ronas damage. Tyler plays a Temple of Enlightenment and bottoms the top card. Tyler casts God Willing on Battle-Wise, making it protection from green. The heroic trigger adds another counter so that Battle-Wise is a perfect 10/10, exactly enough to kill WUBRG. The players are shuffling and heading into Game 2. WUBRG decides to stay on the draw, and Tyler goes first this game, playing a Temple and scrying to the top. WUBRG plays his Rootbound Crag tapped. Tyler plays a land and casts Favored Hoplite. On his turn, WUBRG only responds with a land before passing. Tyler really starts filling his side of the board, casting another Favored Hoplite and Vanguard of Bramaz. Tyler swings for 1 with Favored Hoplite. WUBRG plays his land and casts Pestilent Spirit. Tyler casts the 3rd Favored Hoplite. He taps his remaining mana to cast Ordeal of Thassa on a previously summoned Hoplite. Tyler swings with the enchanted Hoplite, giving it another counter and hitting WUBRG for 3. WUBRG untapped and casts Blazing Volley, dealing 1 damage to all of Tyler's creatures, but due to Pestilent Spirit, the spell has Death Touch, effectively making it a jank one-sided board wipe. He hits Tyler with 3 on the crackback. Tyler plays a Temple and scries to the bottom before passing. WUBRG plays a Woodland Cemetery and casts Domri, Anarch of Bolas. He adds a Loyalty and swings at Tyler for 4 damage thanks to the Domri static ability. Tyler casts an Eidolon of Countless Battles and casts Ordeal of Thassa, making it a 2/2. He passes the turn. WUBRG uses the -2 ability on Domri, causing the Eidolon and Pestilent Spirit to fight and trade. Next, he casts Rhythm of the Wild and passes the turn. Tyler casts a Battle-Wise Hoplite, passing the turn. WUBRG adds a Loyalty to Domri, adding a red mana to his mana pool. He taps an additional 4 mana to cast Ilharg the Razeboar, choosing to give it haste with the Rhythm of the Wild trigger. WUBRG moves to attacks and swings with Ilharg, triggering his ability. WUBRG puts a Giant Ataphage onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, adding a +1/+1 counter to the Giant Ataphage. Both creatures are buffed by Domri for a total of 16 trample damage, and Tyler can only block 2 of it, so WUBRG swings with a perfect 14. Our series is tied at 1-1, and the players shuffle for the 3rd and final game. Tyler chooses to go first, and both our players start with tapped lands. Tyler casts Hero of Iroas before passing. WUBRG starts his ramp with a Sylvan Caryatid. Tyler continues the go wide strategy, casting Battle-Wise Hoplite. WUBRG taps for 4 mana and casts his Champion of Ronas. Tyler plays a land and casts Master of Waves. An interesting choice. It does help go wide, but you have to wonder if a Wavecrash Triton or a Triton Fortune Hunter may be a better fit. Either way, Tyler's side of the battlefield is definitely looking very powerful. Tyler swings with 2 2/2s, and WUBRG blocks the Battle-Wise Hoplite with the Champion of Ronas. WUBRG taps 2 for another Sylvan Caryatid, then uses his 3 remaining mana for Klothys. WUBRG moves to combat and exerts Champion of Ronas. putting Griselbrand into play. Tyler blocks the champion with his 2 elementals in a 2-for-1 trade. Tyler casts a Hero of Iroas and passes the turn. Pre-combat main phase, WUBRG exiles the Battlewise Hoplite from the graveyard for the Klothys trigger. WUBRG casts Domri and adds a loyalty for a red mana. He taps an additional 4 mana to cast Ilharg. Moving to combat, he swings with Griselbrand for 8 lifelink damage. He then pays 7 life to draw 7 cards. Tyler untaps and casts a Congregate on his turn. Klothys has enough devotion to become a creature, so Tyler actually gains a nice 16 life. He then casts Ordeal of Thassa for a blue mana thanks to the Hero of Iroas discounts. He adds a counter to his creature and passes. Pre-combat main phase, Klothys triggers, exile and Congregate. WUBRG shocks in Stomping Grounds as land for turn. He uses the -2 ability on Domri to have Griselbrand fight Hero of Iroas, gaining 8 life. WUBRG taps 7 mana for Hornet Queen. He moves to combat and swings with Ilharg and Griselbrand. Ilharg triggers, and WUBRG puts a Titanith Rex into play tapped and attacking. WUBRG swings with a total of 27 damage thanks to the Domri buff, and Tyler can only block 3. The trample damage goes over and hits Tyler for an exact 24 damage. A great showing from both decks. It could be that the Heroic deck needed a bit more removal, or like I said, a Wave Crash Triton to tap down any potential attackers, but you can also see the explosive potential based off Game 1, so the Heroic deck is definitely not to be taken lightly. That's all for this episode. If you like what you saw, please subscribe for more MTG content. Leave us your deck list in the comments, and maybe your deck will be featured in a future episode.